TCU has 5 games this season against teams that are ranked in the preseason coaches poll top 25. If they make it to the Big 12 championship game, they're going to earn it.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's right, Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Stephen Simcox, been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 seasons. Thank you for making Locked On Horned Frogs your first listen. Later on in the show, some new coaches, specifically Corey Coleman. Very strange to have them here at TCU, but, Kendall Briles, the list goes on. Kaz Kazadi, there's a number of former Baylor staffers that have made their way up to Fort Worth and some TCU guys that have made their way down south to Baylor. But Corey's coaching the wide receivers this season, helping Malcolm Kelly coach the wide receivers. Got some high praise for Eric McAllister. I think Sonny quietly made some really shrewd hires, and I'll point that out in segment 2. But we start today with a little preseason preview of the TCU football schedule. We have a preseason poll, the coaches poll, which is from the Associated Press, but this is voted on by the coaches. Now, a user on Twitter who goes by Toad Hefe, which is a great name, great social media name, joked that based on some of the teams that were in the top 25, it looks like the coaches handed it off to a GA and were like, hey, fill this out for me, which is very possible. I feel like in the past I've heard that SIDs are more the communications people or the folks that get stuck with this job. But yeah, I know for a fact that not every coach is filling out these ballots. However, it does give us a indication of, at least to start the season, where teams are at. So here it is. If you're watching on YouTube, your top 10, Texas at 1, Ohio State at 2, Penn State at 3, Georgia at 4, Notre Dame at 5, Clemson at 6, Oregon number 7, Alabama 8, LSU 9, Miami 10. Arizona State at number 11. That is a TCU opponent. Illinois at number 12, South Carolina at 13, Michigan at 14, Ole Miss at 15, SMU at 16, another TCU opponent. Florida at 17, Tennessee at 18, Indiana at 19, Kansas State. That's your third TCU opponent in the top 25. They're at 20. Texas A&M 21. Iowa State 22. That's your fourth TCU opponent. BYU 23. That's 5 TCU opponents in the top 25. Texas Tech at 24. And Boise State at 25. Now, I actually said on Monday when I saw this news drop that TCU played 6 teams in the top 25. I was wrong by saying that. It's 5. I was just on autopilot, and I was like, oh, yeah, Texas Tech at number 24. That's the 6th team, but TCU not playing Tech this year in the regular season. Maybe they meet up with them in the conference title game, but as of right now, not playing the Red Raiders, right? The battle for the saddle feels like a game that should be played every year. I'm glad they protected TCU and Baylor. Kansas State, Iowa State makes sense. Kansas State. And I realize Tech doesn't have a natural, they kind of got rivals like 1A, 1B. They don't have a main rival. But the trophy's really cool. I just think it's a game that should be played every season. Along with Houston and Baylor, right? I feel that way about the teams in Texas. We'll see if there's any changes made moving forward. But they missed Tech this year. But if you look at this graphic again, Arizona State at 11, SMU at 16, Kansas State at 20, BYU at 23, Iowa State at 22. I saw my friend John Neighbors, who covers Arkansas for the Locked On Network. He threw out there when he saw this that Arkansas was playing 6 teams in the top 25. So isn't it interesting? The mighty SEC, Arkansas in the SEC West, playing 6 opponents in the top 25. Now, it is worth noting, one of TCU's top 25 opponents is a non-conference game. It's an ACC opponent in SMU. But still, not too far off. Now, I get there's a difference here. There's nobody in the top 10. Arizona State's number 11. That's your highest ranked opponent right now. But I do think a misnomer that TCU fans make, I'm not telling you to change expectations. Hear me out here. I believe TCU should be playing in the Big 12 championship game this year. If they don't get there, we'll have to see how the season plays out. But you know what? I'm willing to say it's a disappointment. There might be reasons for it, but if it's anything besides a major injury to a key contributor, it's disappointing to me. I think we can say that. This team is built for right now. They've been, putting the foundation in place over the last few years, banking on continuity, trying to get better, not avoiding the portal, but not selling out and flipping the roster over in the transfer portal. But they should still be there in the championship game playing for a conference title. But I think people, when Texas and Oklahoma left, there's this belief of like, well, the schedule just sucks now. Okay, maybe there's not like a top 5 team that you're playing every year. I get why that's disappointing. I understand if you're a season ticket holder, you look at the schedule and instead of playing Texas, you're playing Cincinnati and the Carter. It's fair to be disappointed about that. I understand if you're not happy with going 8-4, 9-4, whatever the case is. But the Big 12 schedule is not easy. You're playing good teams. You're playing teams that have a similar talent level. You have to go on the road to Arizona State in the conference opener on a Friday night. You have to go on the road to BYU. I realize BYU lost their quarterback in Jake Retzlaff. That's still a solid team and a really good atmosphere in Provo, especially at night. You play Iowa State this season. You get Baylor, which I think could have been a preseason top 25 team. They're not in this poll. We'll see if they make it in the AP, the media poll. You get Kansas State on the road. You see my point. There are tough games on this schedule. TCU doesn't really miss anybody, right? So you got to bring your A game week in and week out if you want a chance to hoist the trophy at the end of the season and get that automatic playoff berth. You might be wondering, how upset should you be that TCU's not in the top 25? I mean, we're at the point of the year where, like, these preseason lists and these rankings, like, it's good to talk about it. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter at all, but we're almost to the start of the season. We are knocking on the door of the time of year where it's make or break, and you can prove yourself and show how good you are. And if you're unhappy with where you're ranked, you're not being ranked, then win the games in front of you. Now, the good news about this, again, we'll see what the Associated Press media poll looks like here shortly, but you're potentially playing 2 top 20 teams in the first 3 weeks of the season, 3 or 4 weeks of the season. You get SMU at home, you get Arizona State on the road, SMU number 16, Arizona State number 11. I mean, even if you split both of those games, I believe you have an argument, but if you win both, you're suddenly a ranked team. And the sooner you can get in the picture in these polls, the better off you are, because it gives you the chance to continue to build that resume throughout the season. And there's high profile games that don't involve ranked teams. Opening the season with North Carolina, at the very least, that's going to get a lot of media buzz, but I think that's going to be telling in how people perceive TCU to start the year. You play Baylor. play Colorado. All eyes are going to be on you that week with Dion coming back to the DFW area where he was a successful high school coach and where he does a lot of recruiting work, where he won his FBS college coach debut a few seasons ago. So I sound like a broken record. I've said this a lot this offseason. There are opportunities for TCU to get back in the conversation nationally. Like if they can win these games, if they can play well, they have multiple chances on the national stage to impress people and remind them, oh yeah, that team won a playoff game not too long ago. Let me look back at what they've done. Okay, they've slowly kind of built this thing back up. But you have to win the games in front of you. 5 top 25 opponents. That's about half your schedule. Look at how good I am at math. I'll continue my greatness at math in our ad read in a moment. But when we come back, Corey Coleman making an impact on the practice field. I get paid from my full-time job tomorrow. Sorry to brag, but I'm excited. Payday is always a good thing, man. And along with payday, though, as an adult, you understand how far does my money go, right? You get paid and suddenly you got to figure out where is this going? What bills are coming out this month? What bills are coming out this pay period? What do I need to, what recurring payments did I forget about? Don't forget about these things and plan better at monarchmoney.com. You can use the code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year. That's at monarchmoney.com. They let you put all your accounts in one place. And it's not just budgeting, it's a wealth management center. So you can track your investments and other portfolios there. But with your spouse, with your partner, you can put all your accounts in one place and get a better feel for, okay, what are we bringing in each month? What's going out? Where can we cut back? Where do we need to slow down a little bit? monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year. Again, that's at monarchmoney.com. Another area where TCU is really fortunate this offseason, they didn't really lose a lot on this coaching staff. Both coordinators stuck around. Andy Avalos in year 2, Kendall Browse in year 3. Now, Paul Gonzalez did go down to Baylor, which that was a loss. I mean, Paul's been around for a long time. Really good coach. But I thought they made a nice hire by going and getting Trey Watson from Cal, who has a lot of experience at the college football level and is known for having defensive backfields that cause turnovers and make plays, right? One name that was notable because of who he played for, and also he was just an incredible college football player. I mean, as much as it pained me as a TCU fan to watch Corey Coleman do special things for Baylor, that guy could play. He was fast. He had great hands, really good moves in the open field. He is helping out Malcolm Kelly with the wide receivers. Doug Meacham left, took the job at Oklahoma State, and become their offensive coordinator. So now, in the past, they had Doug coaching the inside wide receivers, Malcolm coaching the outside wide receivers. It's all under Malcolm Kelly's purview now. He's got both the inside and outside wideouts. He has Corey Coleman there with him. Eric McAllister spoke after one of the practices this weekend and said he's just trying to soak up everything he can from Corey Coleman. Had high praise for him, being a former NFL guy, being a great player in college, trying to learn as much as he can from a very talented and very dynamic former player. I've said this before. I know my guy Vince will disagree with me, which is fine. And some of you will too. But I think Sonny's biggest strength, I feel like he's got an eye for talent. He understands like what young coaches are up and coming. And then he gets out of their way and lets them do their job. Now, I think the Corey Coleman hire was spearheaded by Kendall Briles. In fact, I can say I know that because Corey said that in an interview. He was like, I was looking for an opportunity somewhere, wanted to start my coaching career. Kendall was gracious to give me a call and say, hey, let's get you in here and figure this out. But you've got some young guys who are trying to gain experience, cut their teeth in the industry. And then you have some veteran coaches too. I mean, Randy Clements is an outstanding offensive line coach. And now he's here to help AJ Ricker try to get this offensive line to the next level. When I saw Colton Deary at Big 12 Media Days, I asked him about Coach Clements, like, what's his role, right? Is this just kind of an analyst job where he's watching film and not interacting with the players? And he's like, no, he's with us a lot. And he's very detailed. And the nature of his job, he can really get in the weeds with it, right? Like he doesn't have to worry too much about some of the big picture things. He can get laser focused on, okay, what's your technique look like? Are you using your hands well? Are you moving your feet the right way? How can we zero in on some of these details that at the end of the day end up making a huge difference in whether or not you're going to be effective on the football field? Um, Coach Bookbinder from Texas Tech, who had a really good career there. Josh Bookbinder, he's assistant coach with the linebackers, along with Ken Wilson, who's former head coach at Nevada, has done some really nice things since taking over here. And now he's got somebody working with him. So I love that all of these guys are on the field. You know, last season they took a different approach. They had Dana Holgerson, who I think worked for about 2 weeks. And you know what? It is what it is. I don't blame him. He was pretty honest about that in the one press conference he did as a TCU coach, where he was like, yeah, I can do everything from home. Like I can work from home. I just need access to watch this film and break it down and get what I need out there. And he was supposed to work with Andy Avalos on, okay, as a defensive coach, like here are the offenses you're going to be facing. Here are the formations they're running, the tendencies they have. But then also like watching Andy set things up and giving him feedback on, okay, as an offensive coach, this is how I would attack that. And in hindsight, I believe that might have been tough for a first year coordinator. Like just you're trying to do installs, you're trying to make sure everybody's on the same page and things are going smoothly in that regard. So I'm just not sure you could really get into like some of the things that Dana wanted to hone in on if you're still going over the basic fundamentals of your scheme and things like that. And then Todd Graham, who bounced around a lot of different places, he was supposed to work with Kendall Briles and be his sounding board as a defensive mind of like, okay, here's what you're doing. Here are the things that, you know, I see when I watch your tape or I watch you in practice that are tipping me off to certain calls. And then also like helping him scout other defenses. I understand that sometimes that can be really beneficial. You need coaches who can watch tape and break things down. But I'm just happy that you have coaches on the field that are able to work with the position coaches and help them be efficient, help them be successful, bring some fresh ideas to the fold, but also form relationships with the players, right? Like you can have too many cooks in the kitchen. Okay? You can have too many voices. But since it's individualized to these position groups, I think it's going to work in that, okay, here's what I'm seeing. Maybe it's slightly different than the perspective you're getting from your position coach. And let's work on this. Let's think about this. Let's approach this problem differently and also be an encouraging voice. So nice job by Corey Coleman, already making an impression. And, you know, when you can play like, I'm sure Malcolm Kelly's the same way. When you played at a high level, I just feel like you get that immediate respect. from these players. So like, okay, this dude knows what he's talking about. He did it. He was a man. When we come back, some of your thoughts. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I could use a 5-hour energy to get through this last segment. Man, it's tough at the end of the day. If you're on the golf course and you're trying to get through a round, go to 5hourenergy.com and you can buy 5-hour energy packs online. It's not just at the convenience store, at the grocery store. 5hourenergy.com. Use code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your first order. Again, that code is LOCKEDONGOLF for 20% off your first order. 5-hour energy. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code Locked On Golf to receive 20% off your first order. It is important to note, this offer is only valid until September 30th. On one order, it cannot be used with promotions. It's also not good on subscriptions orders. Whether you're trying to meet up with friends, play an extra round of golf, get that energizing boost you need to power through, order today at 5hourenergy.com. And again, that promo code is Locked On Golf. I spent some time talking about the running back room yesterday. And one player that I mentioned was Kavorian Barnes, because according to Steven Johnson and some other guys that were at TCU practice, he got some opportunities with the first team. Now, the media is at certain sections of practice and then it gets closed off. So, and we're still early in fall camp. But I said yesterday, the more Sonny talks about this running back group, the less I understand about which direction he's going to go. Like, I was pretty staunch in my belief that Nate Palmer was going to be the guy, and I think that could very well be the case. But Sonny's talked a lot about Jeremy Payne's consistency last season and his productivity. He's also mentioned John Denman, the freshman emerging, and giving Kavorian Barnes some chances here and there. Now, I still believe that Barnes is going to be more of a third down back, change of pace type of guy. That will be his role. But you look at his numbers. I mean, he ran for 851 yards in 2022, about 6.5 yards a carry. 715 in 2023 and 5 yards a carry. So a little bit of a dip, but nothing crazy. Then just fell off a cliff in 2024. 78 carries, 220 yards, and a little under 3 yards per carry. Now, talking to some UTSA folks, there's a belief that he dealt with some injuries, and there were some young players for the Roadrunners that stepped up. And then after that, he just sort of fell out of favor with the coaching staff and wasn't there anymore. I've had frustration with the way Sonny and company have approached the running back room at times. I just think they've been kind of flippant about it. Now, I guess in fairness to them, they thought Cam Cook was going to be a dude, and he just didn't end up being that guy. And so that really threw them for a loop. And honestly, they couldn't recover from that in the first half of the season. So maybe there's a gun shy nature to this too, of like, well, we don't want to put our full support behind somebody and name him as the starter and then have to backtrack in 3 weeks if he doesn't end up being the player that we thought he was. I still believe, though, this team will be served best if there's some clarity. I'm not saying you have to figure it out before week 1. Like, you can use some of these games as an audition, but this is a year where you're not really easing into the season, right? Like, you're not playing. You play an FCS opponent, but it's sandwiched between games against UNC and SMU. And those are 2 teams that you're going to need to run the ball against and take a step forward. And okay, we have a more balanced offense. We've got an ability to move the chains running the football. That's a clear improvement for this football team. So just something to watch through the rest of fall camp. Hopefully we'll get some more clarity as we get closer to kickoff. I'll be back tomorrow. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel.